Colorado State has graciously consented to help organize this or spearheading this, and a number of us are making contributions. The thought was this would be for a day, perhaps 2 days. Initially, we would begin perhaps with a roundtable on what is institutional economics, followed by a session on how to get published, spearheaded by Bill Waller and perhaps some of the people on the editorial board. And then we would have paper presentations, perhaps 15 minutes or so, by graduate students or early or young scholars. But it could be open to everybody, but we would like to invite and give an opportunity for the young scholars.
That was Alexandra Bernasek, John.
Thank you, Bernasek. Yeah, thank you. Okay, and if you want to email me or her or Eric, we can include you in the conversation, but we don't want to exclude anybody. The other that was defeated thus far, Greg Hayden wanted to, had a motion in which to set up a committee to look into the finances of AFEE. AFEE currently has assets of about 1.5 million. So, you know, we're doing well. His fear, he wanted to ensure the longevity of AFEE, and he was fearful of perhaps a lawsuit that could easily bring the organization down. It's hard for me to envision such a lawsuit unless one of the officers commits really an egregious act, but I guess that's something of a possibility. Anyway, that motion was defeated. Greg assured me that he would raise the issue next year, which is fine. Let's see, what else am I missing in terms of the readership? In terms of the JEI was about 71,000. In terms of the downloads, excuse me, Bill Waller had expected 100,000 downloads, but there was some delay in the September and December issues of the JEI for no fault of Bill or Susan. It was the publisher had some issues. Apparently the person who helped oversee had left, and they get a young person in there and they didn't know what they were doing. So it was clearly on their side. But the journal seems to be doing extremely well. Apparently in Italy, they're considering moving the JEI from a Class B journal to a Class A, emphasizing the history of economic thought, or at least that's the category. And that's certainly promising. What other issues am I missing for those that attended the board meeting last evening?
Someone asked John about the actual membership that we have currently.
Oh, yes.
257.
Yes, thank you.
And increasing.
It's increased by 60, which is impressive. Professor Lin, apparently in Taiwan, required 25 of his students to join AFEE and download the JEI. But even if we exclude those 25 numbers, that's an impressive increase, and it hasn't been that high since 2013. So I'm very pleased at that. We're definitely interested in increasing the membership in AFEE and increasing young scholars. And hopefully the virtual conference that's next summer, if we can pull that off, will help stimulate an interest in AFEE. There are plenty of issues, and the sessions I've attended thus far have been excellent. Anything else? Thank you, Wolfram, for that. Okay, I'd hoped the session would only go about 2.5 hours. Last night it went about 3.5, but it's, as you all know, it's not the same online as it is in person, but in any case. The one positive thing, I guess, about the pandemic, if there is a positive thing, is that AFEE is saving money on these conferences. No cocktail parties.
Hey, John, I think that everybody's aware of the elections. Gary
yes,
Dembski was brought in as the president-elect, and so Mary Wren is going to be president, and John Watkins actually has a 3rd year of service here as past president, so we won't let him off the hook so easy. I'm sure he'll come up with some things to do for AFEE.
That's right. And Lynn Chester is the new board member, and who's the other?
Wolfram.
Wolfram, thank you. Yes, and unfortunately, Lynn is feeling ill, so I hope she can make her paper, but not COVID, I understand, but food poisoning. So be careful if you fly. But congratulations to Gary and to Mary. So the membership, do you all have any issues or comments? Things you want to see done or anything of that sort? There is one other thing that, and this was suggested by Greg, and I think it's a good one. And myself and Avi are on that committee, but we want to stimulate more discussion on AFEE mail. So if anybody would volunteer to be on that, it should be relatively easy. We're just going to be looking for issues and try to stimulate discussion. Certainly there are plenty of issues out there. And I think Timothy Wonder did an excellent job of raising some issues in the past session. So, you know, pushing the papers, the various people who have presented papers, how can we implement these policies? And of course, the big stumbling block is the political logjam that we seem to be experiencing in the United States, and other countries seem to be experiencing as well.
John, my understanding last night was, at the board meeting last night, was that it is still unclear who is in charge or in control of AFEE mail. It is located, I got at University of Nebraska, Lincoln, right?
That's what I understand. That's right.
An earlier secretary treasurer, I forgot her first name. May was her last name. Greg would know.
Anne Marie.
Not Anne May. Yes, right, Anne May. Is she still a member? I don't know. Anyway, she built it up as far as I remember. But who is currently having access to it? I understood, Eric, that he has no access to it.
Yeah.
So we have to clarify that.
It's a listserv, so it's like an early version of a discussion board, and you know, we've continued to have it. It's not anything it's open to anybody, so you don't have to be an AFEE member to participate in it. There are some AFEE members that do not participate in it, and it sees some traffic. It is one of the ways that we share information about AFEE, although we do have to ensure that all of the information about the activities of AFEE go to the entire membership.
Yeah, but look, Eric, who does, in case someone would want to misuse it, who cares? Who does check the incoming emails?
Tim Wonder is currently responsible for that.
Okay.
Emily Hrovat, who is our social media coordinator, I don't know if she was also signed on as one of the moderators or not. If Tim were here, he maybe would know a little more details about that. I know that Tim Wonder has served in that role for a period of time. And now that we have a social media coordinator, there was some discussion of who would take over that. I know the social media coordinator Emily Hrovat, created a blog that's listed on our website. She's a moderator on the Facebook page, along with the association coordinator, Teresa Rowell. And what else does she have? I think that's it. Oh, Twitter. There's Twitter. I don't know if anybody here has heard of Twitter before. We apparently have a Twitter account. I think. I'm afraid I'm not very familiar with Twitter.
Do we have a YouTube channel, or do we use YouTube
we do.
in any sense?
We do. All of the sessions, and the ASSA informed us that this was going to happen again the same way, that all of the AFEE sessions that are being recorded by the ASSA, we will receive copies of all of that and for our use, and they have been posted to our blog. And then the way to do that is to link that to a YouTube account. So if you go to our blog, I want to say it's AFEE Squarespace.blogspot, something like that. It's listed on our website what the exact address is. you watch those videos in YouTube. There was a project at the board meeting that was presented by Ravzar, I'm
Rohan?
sorry, Rohan.
Rohan,
Ro-
yeah.
Afzal Rohat.
Yeah.
Rohat, Avzar Rohat, and he's working on some materials from
Yeah, mostly from
somebody from
UMKC, but yeah.
UMKC, and is going to digitize those and hopes to get some AFEE support for that. And then we'll be hopefully posting the ones that we get approval for, permission to broadcast on YouTube. So hoping to do some more of that.
Any other issues or comments or questions? Yeah, Gary.
First of all, thanks for convening the meeting and for the robust sessions today. Two other thoughts from the meeting. First, on the listserv, that's something that could be a way of inducing people to engage more with the issues that face us as an organization and that are of interest to scholars involved with us, policy and institutional issues generally. I'm going to suggest to Mary, as we get together, that we maybe talk about whether we're going to need a webmaster or somebody to take a look. I know that there's been lots of different solutions to listservs, and the solution talked about last night was to make it more of a forum for participation and discussion, which does suggest that at least a light touch web presence, master or mistress, would be appropriate. The other kind of big news from last night, or at least that wasn't mentioned, was the idea that in a time when virtual meetings are likely to be continue to be important, and in which we have especially some of the younger scholars from the nations in the global south unable to travel, that we talked about the idea of having some virtual sessions that might be especially aimed at some of the younger scholars and even PhD students. And here, Alexandra Bernasek is going to bring a proposal, and that's going to bring some people together, and we'll probably be calling on some to join us to think through how to do that in a way that would be dynamic and really sort of re-enliven our younger membership base in particular.
Yeah, she in fact has already done that, and I'm sorry you weren't included in that. It was an oversight. I'll make sure you get that that information. Anybody else who would like that. But I was impressed at 12 hours, and she's already got a document going.
That is action.
So we're going to move. Hopefully, we'll move forward on that. But there seems to be a widespread commitment, and I don't know that it would be as difficult to pull off as some people may think. But obviously the students need time to prepare papers and so forth. So hopefully, if we get that out in the next few weeks.
In terms of broadening our membership in the future regionally, let me mention that I read the publisher's report on the JEI today in detail, and this is, I know I say it as another editor of another heterodox journal, and it's a huge success story. Congratulations to Bill Waller. All the algorithmics and statistics that we can see there, impact factor, everything, increasing. Wonderful, wonderful. My compliment. Congratulations, Bill. But I read also that they have regularly spare copies of each issue. And that should be considered to deliberately and targeting, so to speak, to African and perhaps Latin America, Southeast Asian people where we have connections to. I could give names. Brian Lin, we have in Taiwan, we have some Chinese members. They certainly know names of young scholars where we could allocate spare copies of the issues to for some time, perhaps for a year or so. I think that would work. Thanks.
I want to add just a comment there for Wolfram and for the members that are here. When the print is done, there are extra copies of the journal. You know, they don't always get the right number. And so that box of print overruns after the mailings have been done for the membership come to Salisbury, North Carolina. So I end up with some boxes of those things. We deal with lost issues, lost copies in the mail. I know that the mailing has been very difficult over the past 2 years, have had an increase in the number of missed mailings, but we still have some extra. And if there are members of the board, trustees, members of AFEE that would like to share an issue with someone, if you just contact Teresa Rao and myself, Teresa Rao, the association coordinator, we can mail that directly to that person or send it to you if you have something in mind that you would like to do with it. And that's one of the things we can do.
Yeah, I did want to mention, and this didn't really come up at the board meeting last evening, but we had a special board meeting back in November in which we approved a proposal from AFEE. It was modified that we're subsidizing them to the tune of $4,000 a year. And part of this, of course, is for the students' scholarship prize, and part of it is to give AFEE some discretion and also help support their dinner and perhaps bring in a noted scholar. We have no idea, and they don't either, who that would be. They generally have their, as you all probably know, their spring meetings under the umbrella of WSSA, and last I heard, that's going to be in person, but given Omicron, I have no idea what the status of that conference will be. I don't know if anybody has any comments or questions regarding that. But we certainly want to see AFEE succeed, and that's often been an entry for scholars to come into AFEE. So, other comments or questions?
I've never understood what the difference between AFEE and AFEE was.
You have to go back to the origins for that.
Trying to find out for 30 years now. I never understood why we need AFEE in separating from.
Well, there are a couple of advantages.
Wolfram, AFEE is the Wild West version of AFEE.
Okay, good. That sounds good. I know of early day conflicts and purists wanting to have a pure AFEE version and founded AFEE, but that is history, I think. Thank you.
I think that's correct. But what AFEE gives that we can't do at these meetings is you get more time for a paper. You have actual discussion of the paper, and it's easier for younger folks to get on the program because there's no limit to the number of sessions we can put on. You know, I mean, we have this race to give everybody 13 seconds to give a paper. And you know, we're doubled up all over the place. AFEE just has a lot more flexibility. And, you know, it generally comes at a time in our spring term where I really need to get the hell away from upstate New York. I mean, it's just a good time of year to have a conference, to get a break so that you can finish out the year. And that's where I met most of these folks who are sitting here on the screen today, you know, as a young scholar.
And AFEE has the better locations, right?
Yeah.
I did want to mention, you all are probably aware too, that the AEA is putting considerable pressure on our organization in terms of attendance. So one of the reasons we didn't have discussants last year, we didn't have it this year, is that partly for reasons that it may interfere with audience participation, partly because it reduces the number of people in attendance. And it further, if you have a paper with 5 people, they subtract 5 people from the audience. So it's much better to have papers with, say, 1 or 2 people in terms of the number of people participating in each panel, because AEA allocates the number of sessions based on the attendance. So we need to continue to be aware of that. From what I've gathered, the participation thus far has been excellent. Anybody else have any comments or questions? And I will say that I met Bill Waller at an AFEE conference years ago, over a beer. And I hope it
Please
won't be
don't
the
tell him
last.
how many years.
Had to have been 30.
I was 87 in El Paso. Someone was there?
I think it was in Denver.
Last century.
My first was 1978.
I wasn't there then, I'm
Oh,
afraid.
wow. So
John,
record.
I have a suggestion that, besides the sessions with AFEE and at ASSA, if we have European members and if they can organize similar sessions in the major conferences in Europe, I think that would also be beneficial for AFEE.
I think that's a great suggestion. I know there's been an effort to do that. The pandemic has kind of thrown a wrench in everything, but and there is, I did want to mention the Committee on Regional and International Conferences that AFEE, if you've been a member of AFEE for 3 years or more, you submit a proposal to go to a conference and the committee will consider helping subsidize your trip to that conference, provided you don't have any institutional support and it's a conference besides the ASSA conference. So consider that.
May I mention Tanvir, right? Tanvir, EP in Europe, the European Association for Evolutionary Political Economy, is regularly doing joint sessions with AFEE, inviting AFEE people, bringing 1-year memberships for free to young European scholars, AFEE memberships, and all that. We are preparing. Simina, correct me if I'm wrong. We are preparing the next application to the, what is it, COREAC, to the COREAC committee.
Yeah.
Committee of Regional and International Conferences.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an established channel between AFEE and EP, America and Europe.
Now, are they still meeting?
We could continue that bilaterally, of course, if you're interested in that.
Are they currently meeting in person or is it also virtual?
No, last one was regrettably virtual, but we continue the location and hope to be personal this year in early September, and it's again Naples. So we said we'd take the chance. Everything was prepared for last year. Then it was switched over to virtual. So we tried to really get it physically this year. Yeah, everyone is invited, of course.
If I may chime in, I think the problem with organizing these joint sessions is trying to invite colleagues from overseas. So if we're having the conference in Europe, it's sometimes very difficult for American colleagues to make the trip, if not for expenses, because of all the bureaucracy of getting a visa and traveling overseas and so on and so forth, especially when the conference is during the summer, unless we organize one in Greece and we bring them, so that would be an incentive. But having them virtually, it made it much easier for AFEE members based in the US to participate. So, I mean, there's a trade-off. There's always a trade-off with the virtual and the in-person conferences.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Just want to note that the virtual conferences create time zone problems. You know, if you go to the conference, you're in the time zone of the conference, but you'll notice there are no early panels on the AFEE thing because people on the West Coast would, you know, be going to bed about the time the panels would start. Not really, but it's the time differential across 4 or 5 time zones. And of course, for the international members, it's much worse. And I deal with this sort of thing almost weekly. And, you know, getting up at 4 in the morning to talk to people about economics is really kind of hard.
Yeah, that's another sacrifice. That's another sacrifice.
Asimina made it last night. I have to mention that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'm the owl. I'm the night owl. I mean I'm active after midnight, so I have no problem when I collaborate with American colleagues. I mean everything is on time. I'm here 4 o'clock in the morning. For them, it's during the day, during their, so there's no problem for me, I guess.
Yeah, I've been very impressed by the participation of people in our meetings here, despite those time differences.
Well, yes, it's difficult to participate at midnight and keep it wet. Well, I have interest in join conference in the time zone like Asia and Pacific area, and that would be easy for me. Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Dan?
so John, I wanted maybe you or Eric could answer this. So the AEA is apparently still taking attendance, but this is the second year of this weird virtual conference. So what are they doing? And I mean, it seems it's a little worrisome to me because we did lose sessions at one point. Is that a possibility, I think, even with these 2 virtual conferences in a row?
I don't know, Eric, can you answer that?
I am trying to dredge up a couple memories here. I did want to mention to Hao Chang if she was interested in, you know, having a conference in her area, then Gary Dembski is the president-elect and will be chairing the CORIC committee. So that's really the person that I would reach out to talk to about that. And, you know, happy to share any details as well myself. And in terms of the question about the AEA, as I recall, there was a message from the AEA that because the conferences were virtual last year, they were pausing. They're still recording the information, but they are not using that to make the calculations about allocations of sessions, because their justification for allocating sessions is space constraints, shrinking those that are not drawing enough people and growing those that are drawing more because of the limitations on space at the ASSA conference hotels. Now, I do know that our last year, or maybe last 2 years, that it was face-to-face, our numbers were up in many of our sessions. And so we bumped up, I can't remember median mode. It's a complicated little equation. And John explained, you know, how they subtract the number of speakers on the panel from the number of people who are participating. They do an average of the people that are there at the beginning. They count at the beginning, they count at the end, and take an average. Then they give you a median score for all of your sessions. But my understanding is that we actually bumped up a little. We bumped up 1 person, and I don't have the document in front of me, but if they start cutting sessions at 13, then we were like at 15. But you know, we're still close, you know, in terms of that number. So for people who are on the program, participating in the program, for people who have co-authors, please bring your co-authors with you. You know, I think as long as the leadership, the president-elect and the president are aware of these sorts of calculations and issues, you know, they are doing some things like dropping discussants that are helping us with, managing our numbers. Sounds like a cholesterol ad. So does that answer your question, Jan? Okay. I don't know if Alexandra was here. She said she was going to talk if she was here, but she wasn't sure if she was going to be able to make it about the virtual sessions that she was interested in. I wanted to go ahead and mention membership is up, as we pointed out earlier, by 62. It's my understanding that the membership committee, chaired by Thomas Kemp this year, did a very good job in reaching out to people who had lapsed by a year or two. And I think the work of that committee and its chair are greatly appreciated for that. It is a constant effort to get people to renew. It was a point that was brought up at the board meeting. So I wanted to go ahead and mention, renewal time is here. We'll send out announcements from AFEE after the sessions are over, after the conference is over, and we'll continue to do that. At the board meeting, there were several comments about alternative ways to be a member. Essentially, the opportunity a couple of things that I was supposed to pursue, and I will. The idea of automatic renewals. I don't know if our website is sophisticated enough to be able to handle the idea of automatic renewals. If people wanted to do that, there were quite a few people in the board meeting that said that they would love to do so. Another item that was mentioned was the idea of a lifetime membership. Our dues structure currently is no longer an international penalty, so that everybody pays the same rates for membership in AFEE. But there is a lower income discount. I can't remember what the number was, but it's on the website. And then we have a student membership rate. They have to contact us because we have to confirm that they're graduate students, that sort of thing. And then there's also a 3-year membership rate that has got a little bit of a discount to it. And that has been a very, very popular option that was introduced 3 or 4 years ago at the request of the membership. So I think I got my point out about renewal time in North Carolina. So I don't know if Bill wanted to talk about the JEI editor's choice or anything like that.
Sure. No. Let me sorry.
While Bill is looking that up, let me just say that I just am enormously impressed and appreciate the cooperation and the help that I got, not just from Eric, but also from the various committee chairs. And Davis chaired the nominating committee, did an excellent job, and the people on that. Lynn Chester, the awards committee, also did an excellent job. And Thomas Kemp, of course, the membership committee, they came up with a number of innovative ideas for in-person, but we all expected to be in person this year. But I really appreciate the help I got, and the committee chairs, they all did perform in a timely manner and thorough, and they were very professional. And I couldn't appreciate that more. So I'm just impressed with the membership of AFEE. We're small, but the membership seems dedicated, and I much appreciate it. It makes my job and Eric's infinitely easier. So
Okay,
thank
I'm
you.
ready.
Go ahead, Bill.
This year's editor's choice for outstanding article of 2021 was a tie. Interestingly, from the same volume in consecutive articles. The first was Food Deserts and Supermarket Culture in Denver, Colorado by Sasha Brigger Bush in the, let's see, that'd be the September issue. and Treating Consumption, How the Social Costs of Chain Stores Affect Consumers by Carlo DeLaura. And I enjoyed both the articles immensely, couldn't decide between them. And as I told the board last night, they both made me hungry, so I thought they should both win. I encourage you to read the both articles. They're very, very interesting. And especially for those of you who like good applied work. The journal's doing fine. I want to thank everybody for refereeing. I appreciate the effort you put into things. I know it's especially difficult for people during the pandemic because of all the increased demands associated with our work that come from these circumstances. People are doing real good work for me, and I appreciate it a great deal. Our submissions were up considerably. Exempting the June issue, we have a 7.9 acceptance rate, which is quite good, actually, 7.9. The quality of the articles remains high. It's very international. The largest number of our submissions come from China now rather than North America. So it truly is an international journal.
I'm a little troubled, Bill, and I know you addressed this last night. Maybe you could.
Yeah.
That the length of time between acceptance and publication is 18 months to 24 months.
Mm-hmm.
And you're making a suggestion to extend the length of the journal, maybe to try to reduce that time.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to the people at Taylor and Francis about adding 150 pages a year. You can only add pages in groups of 6. And that would give us 50 pages more in the March, September, and December issues, which would allow us to get in 2 to 3 articles more and would knock some of that time off of the backlog. It does not break my heart to have plenty of accepted articles, but I know it's particularly since our workflow is unique to the JEI, it's problematic. And anyone if they need a letter of acceptance with publication information on things forthcoming, we send those out regularly. We get things out as fast as we can. But
you are talking about the print publication, right?
Both.
The online?
Online
online
is published in exactly the same way as the print publication is, because we do our production in-house.
Yeah,
So
then you have a problem, because usually the publishers are far more fast with the online publication, which is formally for the author, it is for the young scholars particularly, it is a formal publication, which is a real publication.
Wolfram, if you come to the editors' breakfast that we have here each year with the journal editors, you'll find that most of the editors would adopt our approach and abandon that which gets things published quickly. Because as you could see from this September's issue, even online, when they try and do it quickly, they mess it up. So the number of errors, mistakes in those quickly published articles is much, much higher. And editors don't like it for the most part. We are the only people with this particular arrangement from Taylor and Francis. And I think it works for the quality of our journal very well. Unfortunately, the publication times are long, but it's certainly shorter than things like the History of Political Economy and some of the other top journals, where 3 years.
We know, of course, that it's important in cases for young scholars, rather than to wait for a year and a half for having the print in their hands, while they have, say, tenure or any promotion in front of them right now. They need the publications, and so the online publication often is very helpful for them, not for us seniors, of course.
Hey, Bill, talking about the quality of the JEI, and I'm very happy that AFEE was able to make this arrangement with Taylor and Francis in order to keep this in-house. It's been a very good arrangement, in my opinion. I think everybody's very appreciative of all the work that you've put into it, as well as the previous editors of the JEI. You had mentioned something at the board meeting about two other projects that you were working on that I thought were very interesting. Something about an AB journal, something like that. And then the
that's
the
the
theory of
rating.
the theory of economic progress was the other one.
Okay. We're working on getting the rating of the Journal of Economic Issues upgraded in the Italian system. And we had two people, Paolo Silvestri and Paolo Ramazzati, who both put in applications to have our journal elevated. We focused on the history of economic thought because we got someone from inside the ministry who suggested that that would be a good thing to do because she chaired the committee and had published in the JEI. So that's where we made that input, and we will continue to petition for additional fields in the elevation of the journal in the Italian system. As you know, there's a new edition of the Theory of Economic Progress that's been made available. The book is currently out of print, and if someone wants to buy a copy, the price varies wildly because Amazon controls that for all intents and purposes. We should, I believe, put out a print edition, if for no other reason than to provide all AFEE members, institutional libraries, with a hard copy of this edition, and then to make sure that all the members have access to it. And if we have extras, we'll sell them on Amazon.
We do have it up on the website, the PDF formatted, newly formatted with everything else that you had done for it. So it is available.
And one of its real advantages is that, of course, the index was originally done in 1944 by hand, and we were able to make significant corrections and citations and the index. So it's an easier book to use. Frankly, the online version is wonderful because you can mark it up, you can highlight it, you can add your own notes to it if you download it. So it's a very handy version, but it would be useful for all of us if that became the standard edition, much in the way that everybody cites, the 1934 modern library version of the Theory of the Leisure class, so that we all know what the pagination is. We did not change the pagination, however, over the 1944 edition. Oh, one other thing, we own the copyright. So if we don't put it back in print, somebody else will when it hits the public domain, which should be relatively shortly.
Bill, are there other classics in institutional economics that we own the copyright?
Not that I'm aware of, but anything in the public domain, not surprisingly, Taylor and Francis is scooped up and is putting out their own editions, but they're quite expensive. We're trying to arrange a special issue on the legal foundations of capitalism for its 100th anniversary. And of course, the only edition of that available is the one from Rutledge, with a new introduction by an AFEE member. And more and more of these books, when they hit the public domain, do end up being published by specialty publishers, but the editions are quite expensive.
Yeah. Other comments or questions?
Sorry, I had asked my question. I turned my hand, so it's a thing. Yeah, here we go. Sorry.
Oh, thank you, Eric. I would like to underline the role of AFEE. To me, AFEE was very important. Usually, it was very difficult for me to attend the AFEE meetings in January because of the winter, the distance. So I always found very comfortable to attend the AFEE sessions in the middle of April. And in my opinion, AFEE reflects more the Berlinian traditional institutional economics. And I would say that AFEE is more wide. I mean, you see, even in the journal, you see very different approach. But AFEE is more faithful to what I call the Berlinian line of institutional economics. Regarding the GI, my main concern has been the mailing of the hard copies. I like the hard copies. I hate to be on the computer reading online. It's a pain in the ass. So I enjoy my hard copies. Because I live in South America, I have an address in the US, in Miami. But look, from 2020, last year, 2021, I only received the 2 copies. I haven't received the September and December copies yet. And I always keep bothering whoever is in charge, and they try to send me a special mailing. But this thing has been a pain in the ass always. I don't know why, even though my address is very well registered in the AFEE website, I don't receive the issues.
Jairo, sorry that you've had such a problem with it. I know that several other people have had problems as well. I will say that the problems have gone up in the last 2 years. I would say that the problems are a little worse under Taylor and Francis than they were previously, but a lot of times it's very difficult to figure out exactly where the failing is. I do know that we have sent you many copies that never arrived.
Yeah, I'm sorry I've been bothering you all the time, but
I want to get the
so
copies
far,
to you. I'm thinking maybe
you...
I'll take a trip down there with a suitcase at this point.
It must be that the postmen are reading them.
No. If you look at the report from Taylor and Francis this year, they did not send or post the September copy, the September issue, until close to November, mid-November. And the December issue came out not at December 1st, like it did the year before, but just before Christmas. The problem is very much at Taylor and Francis. It's a personnel problem they're trying to correct. And we will be having a discussion about that, because not only does it inconvenience all of us when we don't have the journal when we expect it, and again, people are often anxious for other reasons to get the journal, but it also, when it comes out, greatly affects AFEE's revenue. The later it comes out, the less people see it, the less people read it or download it, the less we get in terms of royalties. So it had a really, really negative financial impact that they couldn't get the thing in the mail or up on their own website in a timely way. They were very late in September. They changed personnel, but that person had to take over was way behind the curve. He's quite good. He was our previous person. He was replacing someone who we had for a short period of time on the Taylor and Francis end, and he's come back and he's gotten it back on schedule. So you weren't the only person who didn't get their September issue. Nobody got it. I couldn't get it. And the same thing happened with December, but I don't think there'll be any problem with March. But we will be talking to them about that. We know where the problem is. It's in Philadelphia, and they can fix that. This is a personnel issue that they have.
Well, definitely trying to continue to work on that issue is something that clearly the editor is aware of, and the AFEE office here is responsible for sending out or providing Taylor and Francis with an updated copy of our membership list for each issue of the journal. That's something that we have to get to them before they start mailing it out. We will definitely continue to try to figure out exactly where those problems are. I didn't know if there were more comments or questions from the membership that you'd like the board to know about, or things that you're involved in that you'd like the other members to know about. The only thing I wanted to mention beyond that was the two remaining special events of AFEE. Hopefully everybody's now comfortable enough with the ASSA system to be able to recognize and find these things. You guys found the membership meeting, so that was a special event. The Veblen Common Scholar Award presentation is this evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. L. Randall Ray is Veblen Scholar. Wampeters, FOMA, and Grand Falloons. Talk about pronunciation. I hope I got that right. Monetary myths and not so innocent fraud with Eva Narcissian as the introduction. And then the presidential address is tomorrow, Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. same time with John Watkins' presidential address, The Origins and Evolution of Consumer Capitalism, the Paradoxes Proposed by Continuous Mass Production. And Charles Whalen is going to be doing the introduction for that.
So Anwario, I don't think you were here when I offered your congratulations to the awardees, but a warm congratulations for the Street Award. So well deserved.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions? Oh, thank you, Eric. So excellent. Okay, well, if there's nothing more, then I look forward to seeing you in the sessions and certainly Randy's talk this evening. So stay safe and have a pleasant afternoon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.